Hello and welcome to this new video tutorial course where today we're going to be taking a look at some basic animation ideas. So this expands upon previous courses where we covered lip sync and walk and run cycles. So we're going to have a character going through a few different exercises. First off, I quickly want to cover motion guides because there's a little bit of confusion out there as to how these are set up. So I just want to quickly run through this before we crack on. So what happens when you create a cutout character in Toon Animate, if you refer to the documentation, there's a part where it says in your preferences it recommends that in the general tab that you have default separate position enabled. By default it's not enabled, so if you enable this it kind of changes the way the guides work. So for example, this ball here, I want to animate this across to the other side of the screen. So what I'm going to do is down in the timeline I'm just going to hit F5 to expose it to the end there, and using the animation tools on this final frame I'm just going to bring this over to the other side, and in the middle somewhere I'm just going to bring it down so it appears to bounce along the floor here. So as you see, from left to right it comes down and up, but it's in a kind of linear motion. It's very jagged and V-shaped, and we can actually see this path if we select the layer we're on and hit the shortcut Shift F11 so we can see the path, and you'll see these circles here. These are the control points, and these occur wherever you have a key drawing there. So what you can do, you can grab these, move them around and change the path angle. And of course, wherever you keyframe will add a new control point. So again, we can move these all around and change the path of this ball. So what I'm going to do is delete these and show you something you can set up before you start animating. So you need to do this before you've created any animation if you're getting those linear lines and you want them curved. So with the animation layer selected, double click it. This brings up the layer properties, and you'll see in the transformation tab you've got separate selected. Change this to 3D path, click close. What I'm going to do is just create the exact same animation. So I'm going to expose this to the end, so I'm going to hit F5, drag this to this side, and now in the middle bring this down, and you'll see straight away that now we have a curved motion path there. So for a bouncing ball or something like that, you know, you've got a more curved line there. And again, these are all movable, and if you keyframe somewhere you can add more control points. So that's how you change it from linear to curved with the way the preferences are set up. And again, with the layer selected, if you hit Shift F11 you can toggle that path on and off. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly touch on that before we got into the animation, because as I say, there's a little bit of confusion regarding those with the way that you set up your files. So that's just the way to get around that. So I'm just going to delete this layer entirely now. We don't need that. We're going to keep the ground one because what we're going to do in the first exercise is take a character, this character Chinnery, and we're going to take him from one side of the screen to the other via a jump. So we're going to have him jumping through the air as if he's jumping between two buildings or maybe a hole in the floor or something like that. So that will be the first exercise we look at. So as I say, before I actually start animating this, we've got the character exposed for just one cell. So I'm going to double click this to bring up the layer properties, and you can see I'd already changed it to 3D path, so I'll keep it at that. If you've got your character on the stage there and you've got it on separate and you change it to 3D path, it may move the character somewhere else on the screen, so just bring it back to where you need it to be. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at are the key poses for the action. So we're going to have the character jumping through the air and landing here. So with any animation you need to kind of figure out what the important parts of the motion are. So this character is going to be jumping through the air. You've got to think about how he's going to jump from the ground, go through the air and then land on his feet. So you've got the knees bending and so on. So you've got to kind of study this and figure out how you're going to plot this action out. So what I've done, if I close this off, I've got this layer here. I've sketched out some drawings of the main key poses for this jump. So this just plots out where I want to pose the figure out. So I'm happy with the poses and so on. So what I've done here, this first one, the character's in the stationary position, just standing upright. The ones in the red and green, they're only different colours, just so there's no confusion between the drawings because they're overlapping one another. So the first one is the upright. The second is the red one, where he's kind of crouching down slightly. Then the green one, this is where he's swinging his arms back and he's getting ready to jump up. He's going to project from his feet, leap up. So now his body starts to jump up into the air. It hits the highest point here, so he's kind of got his knees tucked up a little bit, and then he's getting ready to come down. So he's now thinking about where his feet are going to land, and then in the next one his legs are about to land. The next one, this crouch down one, this is where he's landed on the ground, his knees are bent because he's killing the bounce, and now he's at the end he's going to be in the upright position. So these are the key poses for this particular animation. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The ninth one is the same as the first, so we've kind of got 8 key poses really for this one. You could have more or less depending on, you know, how long your animation is and what you're doing, but for this jump this is all we need for this. And to figure out your key poses, it's a good idea to study some video footage. So for this, you know, it'd be a good idea to maybe look at a sports video of a long jump would be a perfect example. You know, go onto a video site, type in long jump and study the footage, look at it a few times and then start to pause the video, quick sketch the key poses where you think you're happy with the body in those positions, and try and study that before you get into the animation process, because once you've got the key poses down it's going to be a lot easier to just go in and animate. And it's generally good practice to just do things like that, just study motion. If you're watching a boxing match for example, try and study the way the body moves when a punch is thrown and how the opponent reacts, how the guard comes up and the body moves back to defend itself and so on. So it's always a good idea to, when you're watching films, other cartoons and so on, just take it all in, and if you can just pause it, do quick thumbnail sketches just to get the ideas down, and then when you come into animate you're all good to go, you're ready to start animating. It'll be a lot easier. So what happens with the key poses, we're going to have the character posed into them, and then Toon Boom Animate is going to act as our in-betweener and figure out what happens in between. Okay, this next layer on the top here, I've just kind of sketched out the line of action here. This is kind of the curve the jump's going to take. So you can see here, you know, it kind of comes down where he's crouching. This is the highest point, then it's coming down. So this is the line of action we're going to be following, and you can see that that layer kind of follows that nicely. And what I've also done on the layer beneath, I've just plotted out across, I think it's about 4 frames a piece. I've separated the poses along the timeline. So this is the first, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth and ninth, which is the same as the first, so we could kind of almost copy and paste the first one on the end there. So what I'll be doing is using these drawings to pose out the character on top. They're not perfect to the character